Well, folks, we're visiting today with Jason Tartt. He is the owner of T&T Organics, located in McDowell County, West Virginia. Jason, thanks for being on the podcast today.
It's great to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. I'm so excited to have you here in Morgantown to learn about your story and what you're doing down in southern West Virginia.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. A very different narrative than the one that you usually hear related to McDowell County, West Virginia, and southern West Virginia. So
absolutely
excited to be here to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Positively West Virginia. Positively West Virginia.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, and Humble Influence. With the help of these sponsors, we're able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one from today's episode.
So Jason, let's start right at the top for our listeners who may not know about you or your story. Talk about T&T Organics and what you're doing there in McDowell County.
Yeah, so when I moved back to West Virginia around 2012, hooked up with one of my high school buddies, and we started to look at agriculture.
Yeah.
His family had some acreage in Mercer County, Bluefield, West Virginia. Yeah. Both of our last names end with T, so that's where the name T&T Organics came from. Yeah. He has since passed on.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Shout out to my buddy Billy, but we're pressing on, and with him in remembrance, and that, so that's how it came to be.
Okay, so first of all, let's get to your origin story. Like, are you from West Virginia originally? Give us your backstory. Tell us the journey.
Yes, I'm from McDowell County, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Moved to Bluefield, West Virginia, Mercer County. Went to high school there. And then from there went into the military as military policeman in the United States Army.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Subsequent to the military, I went into contracting with the Department of Defense. So I did that for a very long time.
Now, where was that work? Was it here in West Virginia?
That was in Colorado.
Colorado.
I managed 11 states out in the West.
Oh my goodness.
So it was great work, an extension of the military service kind of thing. My mom was living in Colorado with us. She got sick, and the doctor said she couldn't live at that altitude. I asked her where she wanted to go, and she said, take me home. So
to Country Roads, West Virginia.
Country Roads, West Virginia.
Back to McDowell County.
Back to McDowell County.
Okay, so now your business is located in Valls Creek, West Virginia, right, in McDowell County?
Yes, Valls Creek, West Virginia, otherwise known as Hartwell, West Virginia.
Yeah, so what's the significance of coming back there? You said that was your home. Tell us a little bit about the home place.
I grew up in a coal camp in McDowell County, West Virginia. Yeah. It was a very segregated type of thing back in those days. But I was an all-black community. These were people who migrated from southern part of the United States, Alabama and whatnot, and came into the central Appalachia area during the coal mining boom.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah.
They built beautiful communities, grew up around a very solid group of people, hardworking. They had that entrepreneurial spirit about them. Yeah. So it was a great situation to be in, a great balance of youth and older people to kind of help us, grow up with the kind of morals and standards that you need.
Values.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. So what year would that have been when you were growing up? I mean, you look like a young guy. What years were these?
Well, I was born in the early 70s.
All right, good.
And so through the 80s and then late 80s moved to Mercer County.
And back then it was very segregated.
Absolutely. I mean, I was in an all-black world, when I was at home. And then it kind of integrated when you went to school, played sports and those kinds of things.
Sure.
But yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. All right. So now fast forward to 2026, and here you are, the owner of this business, T&T Organics. You're in the agripreneurship field, right? Entrepreneurship and agriculture. You've started this company, and tell us a little bit about what it is actually you do and what you're known for.
I co-founded an organization, we call it EDGE, Economic Development Greater East. Dr. Crystal Cook Marshall with Virginia Tech At the time, she was with Virginia Tech, and she was coming to the coal fields to do a study on single sector economies in the coal fields.
No kidding.
She found out about my work and Sky Edwards, my partner at the time, and we were kind of trying to figure out agriculture in the mountains. So she invited us to a meeting, and from that meeting, we founded a producers cooperative called Seed, and then met with some folks from Berea College out in Kentucky who told us the work that we were wanting to do required a nonprofit. So we stood up Edge, the nonprofit, and basically we landed on agriculture first. That was kind of what we were doing initially. There are other areas of opportunity with economic development in mind, but agriculture is kind of where we landed. But it's not your traditional, Kansas or Ohio type of thing.
We're in the mountains.
We're in the mountains. So we had to kind of carve out, what does agriculture look like in central Appalachia?
So it's mountain farming.
It's mountain farming.
Yeah. What does that mean? Tell us a little bit about like your definition of mountain farming.
Well, in growing up in central Appalachia, you know that there are a lot of things that do very well here just naturally. A lot of fruit trees, apples, peaches, pears, plums, cherries. I could go on. A lot of nut trees. Berries grow on accident here. Forest medicinals are something that have been known here for decades. We do poultry, mountain range poultry. Goats are in the deer family. We're overrun with deer. So it made sense that we, looked at goat as opposed to cutting our trees down to make room for cow pasture and things along those lines. So
it's responsible farming.
Absolutely. It's a regenerative model. We let nature kind of tell us what agriculture looks like here. Beekeeping is major. McDowell County and Mingo counties alone can produce more honey than the entire state of West Virginia, according to some research that was done. Wow. So these are multi-million-dollar, or if not larger, sectors that have to be built out. So that's what we do. We do a workforce training program, have had quite a few people come through the program since 2020, and it's built around entrepreneurship. We're not training people to get jobs. There are no jobs in McDowell County. So we're training people on what agriculture looks like and then giving them the opportunity to start small businesses.
So, what I'm hearing you say, Jason, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it's, it's almost like this self-sustaining lifestyle that you're trying to create. Entrepreneurship is not just creating jobs for the masses. It could be just creating a job for your family.
Absolutely.
And finding a way to stay here in West Virginia, your home, and like your mom wanted to come back here, to West Virginia from Colorado, but giving people a way to stay here is sometimes maybe not waiting for something to happen, but creating your own opportunity.
Yeah, that's our number one export. Our young people are leaving the region.
Yes, sir.
But a lot of that is because people don't know what opportunities exist here. I think we've done a very poor job overall of marketing and promoting Central Appalachia. It's a beautiful place. There's a lot to offer here. In terms of economic development, there are a lot of areas that we could do well in. We just haven't done a good job of taking our focus off of extraction and that single sector focus. We've been there for so long. It's hard for us to look in any other direction. So we're focused on those other directions. We've identified some sweet spots, and we're trying to expose the community and the region to those opportunities, and it's working out well.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, you're preaching to me, and I'm hearing it because I'm preaching the same thing. We've got to figure out ways to keep our young people not just motivated to stay here, but inspired to stay here, really, and what you're doing is very inspiring. I mean, I'm just listening to you. I'm receiving this very well because I think you're a very smart guy. Just meeting you, you've got a lot of wisdom to bring to the state of West Virginia, and what you're doing is you're not just talking about it, but you're actually doing it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great people. When we first started this work, there were very few people that were even talking about agriculture.
I could imagine, yeah.
Especially, economic development in McDowell County, of all places. Yeah. Since that, we have seen a groundswell of great people, great organizations that have gotten involved. Most of it's around the nonprofit sector, and we've got to kind of wean ourselves off of that. But yes, there's been a great uptick in effort to meet the needs of our communities, and the future looks really good. We've got a lot of great people putting in a lot of hard work.
I love it. You're wearing your company brand on your hat. Tell us a little bit about your logo and the significance of that.
Yeah, it's the Sankofa symbol. It's an Adinkra symbol from West Africa, and it simply means return and get it. Look to your ancestors and figure your way forward. Our ancestors here in Central Appalachia paved the way for us. When you think about the coal mining industry, for example, it was stood up from nothing. You know, the workforce was migrated in.
That's
they
right.
built communities, they built stores, they were company stores, they built schools. So we can draw, just in the redevelopment and the reemergence of Central Appalachia, we can draw on what our ancestors did. You think about the Battle of Blair Mountain, for example, when people from different communities, black, white, and otherwise, came together to fight for a cause together. I'm not, condoning violence or anything along those lines,
Sure.
but, we have to come together as a community.
That's our history, though.
Yes,
right?
no one's coming to save us from our issues here, and we have several.
Yeah.
From health issues, we have drinking water problems in McDowell County.
Yeah.
We have food deserts
Well
that are
documented.
growing phenomena. And we're going to have to step up and get this thing done, as a community together.
What motivates you? I mean, you've taken on some monumental efforts here. What motivates you, Jason?
Growing up, I really, we kind of moved around a little bit. My dad was in the military, and I took for granted, I believe, home. I didn't really have that connection to West Virginia. So when I left. I never thought I'd come back here in a million years. But in coming back, I have developed a connection to this place, a love for this place, an appreciation for this place. It's a part of who I am. My ancestors poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this soil. So it means a lot. I spend a lot of time in West Africa as well. That's my ancestral home is Ghana. Did the DNA work there and found that out. So I spend a lot of time there as well. And I think that means everything, So for us here, we come from great people, regardless of what community you come from. I mean, the great people of Central Appalachia made the coal mining industry what it was. It was the people that did that. And I think these are the best people in the world. And for me, it's a lifelong commitment. This is my life's work now to fix what's going on here. And I'm blessed to have a lot of great people around that can support me in doing so.
Well said. I appreciate you. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. Here at Interaction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting today with Jason Tartt. He's the owner of T&T Organics in McDowell County, West Virginia, specifically Falls Creek, West Virginia. Jason, I love your story. I love your passion. The wisdom that you're bringing to this conversation is very important. What would you say is the thing you're most fired up about right now in McDowell County?
I just returned from West Africa recently, working on a project that will basically connect West Africa, Central Appalachia, and the Caribbean. Right now, when you look at supply chains, you look at food desert situations, a lot of food systems are going to become more regionalized. And we have to definitely work on building food systems here in Central Appalachia. So one of the things that I'm working on, and one of the big universities in the state of West Virginia has agreed to partner with us on this project, is basically food systems development here in Central Appalachia. I'm not interested in these commodities maybe coming from West Africa going to Baltimore or New York. They need to come here. We need to build infrastructure here which will create great opportunities for us here in Central Appalachia. So we're at the very early stages of this project, but it looks like we're going to be working on a project that will really help to build food systems here in Central Appalachia in partnership with West Africa and the Caribbean.
I think that's great. Is that, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but maybe you can help us understand it. When you talk about these food systems, is that making sure that our food is more local, so we know where the food's coming from? Or is it just, you mentioned supply chain, is it making sure that we have less food insecurity and food deserts like you talked about? Help us understand that. All the above.
I mean, we have several food desert communities throughout Central Appalachia for a reason.
Sure.
And when you look at the food insecurity issues, it's a growing situation in the United States. We don't control our food supply in a lot of cases.
That's right.
And any turbulence in any part of the world, we're in a global economy now, so any turbulence anywhere will affect things everywhere. And so we definitely have to figure out, how do we build our own food system here so that we don't suffer when these breakdowns take place. COVID was another great example of how things can go badly quickly for us.
I mean, we're recording this podcast at the end of March 2026, and we're talking about, prices of diesel fuel just going through the roof, and potentially even shutdown of diesel. I mean, there's lots of things that are happening. But what happens if we can produce our own food locally? Through mountain farming, right? Like you were talking about. Is that kind of the idea?
It is, and we've built the model. We know what we are in terms of food production.
That's great.
Infrastructure is the challenge now. So once we have infrastructure in place, farmers can scale. A goat farmer or a poultry farmer right now in McDowell County doesn't have the processing capacity to really scale those businesses. You
don't think about that. You think about raising it, but the processing, turning it into food is a whole other thing.
Yeah. So phase one for us was what is agriculture here? So we've identified that. We've got things moving. We've got producers on the ground. Phase two for us now is the infrastructure part. We need investment. We need more education. There are opportunities for folks to invest, whether it's philanthropic or just straight up investment in places like McDowell County. It's a major food production area. And we need to set up the infrastructure. Central Appalachia could be a major food hub, not only for this area, but we could distribute to other areas around the East Coast and the Midwest. We're in very close proximity to much of the country's population. So it just makes sense.
Absolutely. Do you work with like the West Virginia Agriculture Department, like Commissioner Kent Leonhardt and that group? Are you in conversation with those folks as well?
Yes, we've worked with West Virginia Department of Ag on several projects. We were 2025, we were the Southern Conservation Coalfield Farm of the Year for the Southern Conservation District.
Man.
And then we were runner-up for the
wonderful.
state. So a lot of mountain farming conversation is starting to take place. It wasn't talked about that much, but recently people are taking notice and realizing the potential. So
it's interesting here in Morgantown. I don't know if you're aware, there's a pretty significant manufacturing enterprise that went online a couple of years ago called Mountaintop Beverage. Are you familiar with this group? They are a large producer of a particular type of packaging for dairy products, primarily milk, and they're massive consumers of milk, and they're shipping products for like protein drinks and all these types of things. They have a specific bottling process here in Morgantown. They built this massive facility, and they're actually ready to expand. They're just waiting on more access. They're building a bridge to the plant and everything right now here in Monongalia County. But Mountaintop Beverage is one of those infrastructure production plants that you were kind of talking. It was processing milk and turning it into a product that's being shipped across the country here from Morgantown. It's called aseptic production. So it basically has a when you see like a bottle of dairy creamer that is sitting on a shelf without refrigeration. That's what they're doing. They're packaging it with this aseptic. But so I can definitely understand where you're coming from when you're saying you need processing facilities for goat and other types of animal products, or distribution and infrastructure. I definitely can see that. And here in West Virginia, we're primed for that because there's not a lot of infrastructure. It's all, you have the idea and then you got to build it out, right? So I think what you're doing is fantastic on that. So from your perspective of McDowell County, because like you said, there's not a lot of jobs in McDowell County. What's your vision for McDowell County as a whole?
McDowell County could be a major production area. One of our challenges is land access. Mm-hmm. Almost 70% of the land in McDowell County is owned by absentee corporations.
Is that like the coal companies, basically?
Yes. And one of the things that, obviously they own the land. We've got to figure out a way to incentivize those organizations to want to do business with West Virginia, with the community. Just recently, they tried, they've introduced legislation to have biochar companies relocate to West Virginia. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing, but at the same time, we've got people in West Virginia that are capable of doing those things too. So there needs to be a balance there. But in McDowell County, a major production area, people's ability in McDowell County and other places throughout the coal fields to make a living has always been tied to the land. Yeah. And one of the things that we need to do is figure out how to unlock the land. A lot of it's sitting idle, but these corporations own it. Companies like Norfolk and Southern own a lot of land down in places like McDowell. So we've got to figure out, how do we incentivize these organizations to work with us?
Yeah, what's one way that you're thinking that can happen? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you've got green credits, you've got lease agreements. Once the infrastructure's in place and these things start to really make money, the revenue sharing, it's standard business practice, the same thing that you would do anywhere else. Yeah. We have those opportunities to do there as well. These are just not things that have been talked about. Our politicians aren't coming up with these ideas. I don't hear any politicians talking about incentivizing these companies to free that land up. We're not asking for it for free. We understand business is business, but we haven't done a good job of promoting this is what Southern or West Virginia and Central Appalachia can be. McDowell County could be a huge production area as well as a food hub. We've got some infrastructure there that can support distribution that still needs some development, but it could be a huge production area. We do what's called a rural to urban resource exchange. So we're working with some folks in West Charleston. They have different challenges. They're a food desert community as well, but we can help each other. So those are some of the concepts that we want to put in place as well. And then, of course, on a larger scale, you're looking at working with West Africa and bringing those tropical goods right into Central Appalachia, which would also help mitigate issues related to food deserts, but it would also help us to create economic development opportunities, not just in agriculture, but you're talking about logistics, you're talking about health and wellness. You're talking about a lot of areas that this would
food
impact.
is medicine.
Absolutely. And then
Food's food, but food's also medicine.
Absolutely. And with that infrastructure, it would support other areas throughout Central Appalachia, but also it would put us in a position to be distributors to other parts of the United States. So we have the ability for other areas to depend on us for a change. West Virginia can be first as opposed to being last in health outcomes, economic development, and so on.
That's wonderful. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. In a world obsessed with leadership, what if the real key to success is followership? We hear it all the time. Be a leader, take charge. But what if the most impactful people aren't the ones leading from the front? In Humble Influence, I explore how humility, collaboration, and shared purpose empower followers to create meaningful change in business, organizations, and relationships. Discover the strength of true followership with Humble Influence. Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Jason Tartt. He's got a fascinating story down in McDowell County. His company is T&T Organics. Jason, again, thank you so much. I appreciate the wisdom you're sharing. I'm very inspired for McDowell County. You know, we hear a lot of the negatives, but what you're doing is really amazing work in the southern coal fields of West Virginia. I want to jump right back into it. As you talk about T&T Organics, your farm, can you give us some specifics, maybe the lay of the land? How many acres? How many, what are you doing in terms of production yourself on your farm?
Sure, yeah. We've got approximately 350 acres.
Oh my gosh.
335 of that is a lease, one of the only leases with one of those corporations that I talked to you about. So we've got a 335 acre lease. It's a demonstration research and training farm for the most part. I've kind of put my production goals on hold to build small incubators or pilots on what does agriculture look like. So right now we have mountain range poultry on the farm, which produces some of the highest quality poultry and eggs that you're going to find.
Love it.
We have goats on the farm. We use Kikos there. Goats just make sense. We've had several calls in this region about supplying goat meat. Goat is the most consumed meat on the planet.
Yeah.
It's the most healthy meat of the domesticated meats, red meats. And we have the capacity to produce a lot of it because of the terrain. Goats and deer are in the same family, so it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're doing that with goats. We also have some agroforestry work going on. When you talk about, for example, biochar, forest medicinals, we've got a young man in the program now doing a shiitake mushroom project.
No kidding.
So there's a lot going on. We've got 5 high tunnels on the farm, so we do training on urban models. We've got orchards. We've got 100 beehives on the farm.
Wow.
So anything that you could think of, and we still have more things to add. Maple syrup is a big deal. So there are a lot more things that we want to add. But right now we've got a bunch of different fruit trees: apples, peaches, pears, plums, cherries, elderberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. If it can be done in Central Appalachia to scale.
Yeah.
Then we're trying to incorporate that into the DIRT, what we call the DIRT Demonstration Research and Training Farm. So that's mainly what T&T Organics is doing now, is training folks at the Demonstration Research and Training Farm through our program, our AgForce program.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how does it work? How's the funding work? I mean, you got all these things happening. Are you self-sustaining at this point? Are you working on grants through the nonprofit? How does it all work?
Yeah, at Edge, most of it's grant funded. The last couple of years, we've had 2 large amounts of money snatched. Just recently, we were working on a project with WVU. That funding went away. This was just last week, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So one of the things that we're trying to do at Edge is to be less grant dependent. And I think that's something that we're going to see more of across the nonprofit world. There's just a lot of turbulence and uncertainty when it comes to federal funding and that kind of thing. So we're building our model around a land banking system. As we put producers on the ground and get their businesses started, we've got a system that will allow them to pay back into the nonprofit so that we can keep the doors open and keep the programs moving forward.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're really working on, a couple things, is 1, get more investment into the area, and 2, to build models that will make us less grant dependent.
Yeah. How do you get the word out about what you're doing?
It's not very difficult. There's not much going on in McDowell County. Sure. So as people go through the program, people hear about it. Social media has been great. We've got a lot of publicity, done a lot of great things. CNN, PBS. We've been featured in several articles, Wall Street Journal.
Amazing.
So a lot of folks are aware of our work.
Yeah, I think that's maybe how I came across you. Just doing some research and came across the work that you're doing there. So
yeah, a lot of people pouring into this work. Far from a one-man show. Yeah. Just a lot of great people. The folks on the farm going through the program, they're a part of this growth. So very excited about that.
What kind of impact do you feel like your work's having not only in McDowell County, but across West Virginia?
It's having a great impact. We get inundated with all the negative,
That's right, yeah.
Every time you see McDowell County on YouTube or anywhere, it's someone telling a sad story about, how destitute and bad things are here. So getting the opportunity to give the proper narrative. Yes, we have our challenges, but this is a beautiful place. We are hardworking people. I've even heard people say, why don't you all just leave?
Yeah.
No, we're not leaving.
It's your home.
This is home.
Yeah.
And so we have great things to look forward to. The people in the community believe in it. There's nothing like seeing a person light up when they realize, I can do this. This is possible. We don't have to be in this situation. So very excited about that. Very happy to see, that people are taking notice, and we've got a lot of folks investing and coming forward, wanting to be a part of it.
We talked about our young people leaving, West Virginia. Our population's one of the only populations in the country as a state that is actually diminishing over the last, probably 2 decades or so. What would you say to people, young people that might hear this podcast today, growing up here in West Virginia? What would you say to them about encouraging them to stay or build something here?
I have 3 grown children with 3 grandchildren, and I think a lot about the well-being of my family, of my children and grandchildren. And one of the things that I would tell young people is to look at this climate data. And the climate research suggests that over the next 25 years, there will be a lot of places throughout the country that will be uninhabitable. And there's a migration that is expected to take place over the next 25 years back into Central Appalachia, because we live in one of the most climate resilient parts of the United States. With that in mind, there's going to be an increase in population over that time. So now is a great time to get positioned to take advantage of that increase in population. Those folks are going to need to buy food. They're going to need to live somewhere. So there's an opportunity here. And young people, if you're thinking about where do I want to go, where's the next hot place, I think this is the last frontier here in Central Appalachia.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to look forward to. The tourism industry is doing well, and only to get better. You have a lot of other opportunities that will grow alongside of agriculture, logistics, education, housing development. It's a problem across the country, infrastructure. So this place is going to develop, it's going to grow, and it's a great place for young people to focus their attention, because they can be a part of that growth and development.
Well, I love that inspiration, Jason. And I think one of the things that breaks my heart is when I drive through some of these beautiful areas of West Virginia that you could almost imagine they were flourishing, when the coal was in its heyday. And in McDowell County, it's been a long time since I've been down there, but, we drive through anywhere in central West Virginia, even the eastern part, Panhandle. You see these towns that were once flourishing, but they're all like abandoned. And we have infrastructure there. We have roads and we have utilities and a lot of times buildings. Yes. And I wonder sometimes, maybe it's a silly dream, but taking what you just said about the population remigrating back here to the Appalachian region. And, West Virginia is the only state in the country, I believe, that's completely in Appalachia.
Yes.
And can we reimagine these towns and communities flourishing again?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, because repurposing some of that old infrastructure is exactly a part of our plan. That's what we do. When you think about mountain ranging poultry, we don't have flat land here, so we have to range them on the mountains. It turns out the diet there is better. The tree canopy provides a lot of security and, cuts down on greenhouse gas emissions, those types of things. They fertilize the forest bed. But the logging roads are there, right? And so we put these birds on a particular pasture. We don't want to deplete the bug life. We don't want to deplete the vegetation. So we put them in a house on wheels. They're only sleeping in that building anyway. And they go in one night and wake up on new pasture the next day.
Oh, that's
and that's
so cool.
the repurposing of old logging infrastructure.
Oh my gosh.
You've got a lot of old buildings, abandoned buildings, many of which can be saved, that could be repurposed to do some of the be used as some of the infrastructure needs to fulfill some of the infrastructure needs we have.
Even housing and things of that nature.
Warehousing, cold storage, storefronts. We live in a food desert. We may have 2 or 3 grocery stores in the entire county down in McDowell. So there is infrastructure that can be repurposed. It's a matter of having a plan for it and understand, we live in a lot of floodplain. Flooding is an issue down there. So you can also, when you talk about how do we rebuild these communities, some of the climate studies suggest use those logging roads and that old extraction infrastructure to build the housing out of the floodplains and then repurpose the floodplains for agriculture, tourism, and other things.
It makes so much sense.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy how good this is. And when I think of some of the negative thoughts, the negative press, like you alluded to, with Southern West Virginia, McDowell County in particular, and then I hear you speak, Jason, I'm invigorated, and I'm optimistic. Maybe that's because our show's called Positively West Virginia and I'm an optimist. But honestly, I mean, we have to have more thinking like you're thinking, because what we're doing in the state of West Virginia, quite frankly, hasn't been working. We continue to lead the nation in all the bad things, and all the good things, we're lagging, so how do we change this? But it's a mind shift is what it is. It
is. And we have to get our politicians to get on board with what's going on. The land access conversation, I have a hard time understanding why hasn't this conversation taken place already? We should be talking to these companies to incentivize them to open this land up for these communities. Yeah. If we've got access to land, our situation will change very quickly. Agriculture alone could be it'd have a huge impact on the entire region.
Absolutely.
Alone by itself. So we definitely need our politicians to wake up.
It's about leadership.
Yes.
And I think about, going back to, mountain farming and the idea of like going back to our ancestral beginnings. That's what we are. We are an agricultural state.
There's a farmer on the flag.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So we'll talk about leadership. Jason, you're leading across the state of West Virginia. I love what you're doing in McDowell County. When you think about the word leadership, what does that mean to you in terms of business leadership today? What's important? We
have to, as you said earlier, what we've been doing has not been working. And there are a lot of people that have left and come back with great skills. As I said, I spend a lot of time in West Africa. By the way, the agricultural sector in Africa is projected to grow to $1 trillion by 2030.
Wow.
With the connections that I have in West Africa, for example, and some of the things that we're trying to do with this alliance, we want Central Appalachia to participate in that growth. We have the opportunity to participate in that growth. And again, our supply chains globally are changing. Global trade is changing, and we have to look at this as more of a regional approach. We have to approach this as a regional thing. Yeah. And we have the opportunity to create our own systems and support other areas. So for me, leadership is innovation. Obviously, we need to do something different, and it's surrounding yourself by the right people. I mentioned we were working with WVU until the funding was taken away, but WVU is a land grant institution. They have really gotten more involved with what's going on, so really excited about that. We need our land grant institutions. And then we've got Marshall University that's doing some great things in terms of business and innovation and workforce development. So we'll be working with those organizations, and they should be in the mix. They should be a part of finding the solutions to fix these problems. If we can get those universities down into these communities, listen to these ideas, apply their resources to what we're trying to do. Obviously, they have the resources to, whether it be research, collecting data, figuring out how we incentivize these corporations to do business in these communities, helping to build out this international model that we're talking about right now so that we can bring those tropical goods into Central Appalachia, and then building the infrastructure to be a food distribution hub here, creating logistics opportunity, agricultural opportunities. We can do that here. We have the people and the organizations to get it done. To me, that's the leadership that is required at this point.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I appreciate that very much. Jason, this has been an awesome conversation. Is there anything about your story or that of T&T Organics that we haven't talked about that you'd like to get out there?
We just need support. The people on the ground, the infrastructure is there. You don't have to live in McDowell County to invest in McDowell County, but there's an opportunity here. We're really building this thing as we go. We have a great understanding of what we can be. TNT Organics has been a great vehicle for promoting that message and getting that information out. Yeah. So just the support. We really want to get away from grant funding and depending on the grant world. So the private sector, philanthropic sector, the investment sector, we really need for those areas to dial in, take advantage of what's going on.
Is it far-fetched to say that this could be a day trip and come out and check TNT Organics out, have people come down and pay a visit to what you're doing down there?
We welcome that. We've had a lot of folks come through.
All right.
The average age of farmers in the United States is almost 60 years old.
Wow.
So one of the things that we really want to do is to get our young people engaged with agriculture. Again, it goes back to land access.
Yeah.
You've got kids that go through 4-H, FFA, and things along those lines. And then when they graduate, if they don't belong to a legacy farm family or have land, then all that training was for nothing.
Yeah.
So we really have to get folks to look at creating space for our young people to do well. Agriculture can do that, but again, it goes back to the land access issue.
Land access, and there's plenty of land.
There is. Most of it's sitting idle.
We got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I'll help you any way I can get the word out,
Yeah.
Jason. I love what you're doing. For folks that want to learn more about you and maybe even get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can contact me at jaytartt@gmail.com. We have a website, the Edge website. Let me get that for you. I should have it. So that's the Economic Development Greater East, edgeus.org.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have links to that and to TNT Organics.
It's ttorganics.com.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have links to all that in the show notes on social media. So folks, if they want to come down and check out what you're doing in McDowell County, down there in Falls Creek, West Virginia. I've never been, but maybe that's on my summer to-do list.
Please do. You have an open invite.
Pay you guys a visit and maybe do some commerce too while we're down there, right? Help out the local economy. Jason Tartt, owner of TNT Organics in McDowell County, West Virginia. It's been an honor to have you on the show today. Thank you again for your military service, your dad's military service as well. We appreciate that. And what you're doing is this really, it's beyond inspiring. I mean, I'm just kind of shocked at all the things that you're doing down there and your passion, the wisdom that you're bringing to that area and the vision that you're bringing, and not just for today, but for the generations to come for McDowell County and in the southern coal fields of West Virginia and central Appalachia. So thank you very much for all the work that you're doing. I'm just in awe of what the things that you're doing, and I just want to encourage you to keep up the great work.
Well, thank you, Jim, for having me on. Positively West Virginia is a great resource for our region. Appreciate the work, telling our stories, and definitely look forward for you to come down and check things out. So our story's not complete yet. We've got a lot of great
just getting
things
started.
We've got a lot to look forward to in Central Appalachia, not just McDowell County, but all of Central Appalachia, especially West Virginia. So thanks for having me on, and looking forward to seeing you down. Yeah,
appreciate you very much. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, please drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. And of course, we appreciate your encouragement, sharing these great stories of people like Jason Tartt and TNT Organics and all the things that he's doing. That helps his organizations as well as Positively West Virginia and telling all the great positive business stories that are out there in our great state. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, Interaction Media, Humble Influence, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.